Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the new week. And of course, Aquarius rising Africa, where we are freezing right now, where I am anyway. So happy winter or summer, wherever you are. Haven't we just had the coldest, the longest day and the longest night, whatever? Yeah. Hello, Lisa D. Nice to see you. And I just want to, before we bring on Tiffany Anderson, who, by the way, if you haven't watched her interview from 2 weeks ago with me, please do so, or 3 weeks ago. Absolutely fascinating. It's she worked with a chemical company who made chemicals to, and I'm just telling you in a nutshell, kill mosquitoes. But in order to do that, they had to do a whole lot of other tests, poisons on the environment, obviously weather modification, manipulation, stuff like that. So she's been there firsthand, was part of that crew. So please watch the previous interview. It is absolutely brilliant and fascinating. And tonight we're going to be talking about some of the illnesses and the issues she picked up during that time and how it affected her, but also how to detox and to get that stuff out of your system, which I think right now is so important because God knows we have been inundated with toxins and chemicals and jabs and whew, you name it, we've had it. So I think this is really brilliant information. But before we bring Tiffany on, I just want to do the schedule for the week. Okie dokie. So, of course, tonight is Monday and it's 6 o'clock, and we have Tiffany Anderson with exactly what we've just been speaking about. I got a day off tomorrow from needing to put on makeup and a face. And then Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock, Rachel Vaughan and her brother Andrew McIntyre, again from Australia, Focus on Australia. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant interviews. Rachel and Andrew, their father was, they pretty much witnessed their father unaliving the Beaumont kids. And that's a big case in Australia. So, yeah, they've taken that to court. They are doing amazing things. And of course, just dropping one little truth bomb after the other, which is high time. So I've also done 2 previous shows with Rachel and Andrew. So, sorry, yes, I think it's Andrew. Yes, gosh. Suddenly hit a blank on Australia. So please catch that. Guys, when we're looking at, this is why I do interviews with people from all around the world, each part of the globe. And if you guys also haven't caught my drop-in with Shanti on Friday, telling you guys what's happening in South Africa at the moment, it is hectic. We have civil war on our streets. Tomorrow is the big march, the March on March. But literally, the local African people are literally annihilating any foreign immigrant and especially illegal immigrants, but whether you're legal or not, it doesn't matter. They want foreigners out of the country. And it has been sometimes a bloodbath on our streets right now. So this is why, and it's also, in my opinion, not in my opinion, I'm 100% sure, this is the excuse to bring in digital IDs into Africa, and South Africa is the gateway for the New World Order. So it's happening everywhere. Chaos and mayhem is everywhere. So this is why I especially do shows with a lot of people from around the world so that we can understand what is happening. And this is also how I believe, we draw together. It's not about our countries. They've divided us with religion, with language, with continents, with countries, with race, with everything. And, when we come together and we realize we are all just going through the same thing at the same time, it's very empowering to then draw our energies and focusing on healing and upliftment of this planet rather than pain and destruction. Anyway, then of course, Double Trouble with Jesse. We're doing Antarctica, double show on Antarctica on Wednesday. So join us for that. And then of course, Dr. Dennis Carroll again on Thursday. Drop in with Shanti on Friday. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing there yet. If any of you have got a documentary or something you want me to do like a commentary on, please let me know. We're still figuring out what we're going to be doing this Friday. And then of course, Michelle Melendez, again, Friday night, wonderful, the author of the great Maui land grabs. So we're doing a follow-up on that interview. Very important information. This is stuff that's happened a couple of years back, but it continues on. And what we need to see is, have they or have they not fulfilled their promises to rebuild the land, or what is happening to these people that have been displaced because of these fake fires and nonsense. And then, of course, Saturday, Jerry Marzinski. We haven't seen him for a few months, but he's back with us on Saturday again. And then Patreon book club with Jesse. What we're going to be doing is talking about the whole, Jessie did a Disney decode on her show this week. So we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into the Disney stuff and follow up to what she did this week. So for Patreons and members, you are welcome to join us at 3 o'clock on Sunday. And then of course, Sunday after that, the Sunday Loop, where we play reruns, old reruns, and also shows that haven't been on Aquarius Rising before. So yay, everybody, welcome. Nice to see you all. Rosie, Leanne, Mornay, Lisa D, always Lisa D, yay. Hello, Tiffany, so nice to see you. How are you? Welcome.
I'm doing well. I find it strange. Is my sound okay? We had a little sound issue. Is this good?
Yeah, it sounds a lot better. Sometimes crackles, but it's fine now. It seems to be fine now. But yeah, I'll let you know if it's playing up.
Okay, perfect. Because we are pretty far away from one another, and it's night where you're at, and it's morning where I'm at. It's 9 in the morning here. What time is it there?
6:15 in the evening.
All right. Well, I don't have that all figured out yet, but at least I'm on time today. So
yeah, time zones. And you guys there on the other side in the northern hemisphere, I mean, you've got like 27,000 time zones.
No, we have about 6. I think we have 6. I was trying to figure it out after you brought that up, but yeah, we've got a few. And I think they do that just to confuse us, just to make us.
Yeah, we're all on the same time zone and we don't change. So this time zone changing thing is like learning a new language for me. But I'm happy that we are gathering at whatever time it is. So really good. Yeah.
It's crazy. Is it crazy? Isn't it crazy that you are, halfway around the world and you and I can talk, like we can do this? This just amazes me, this technology thing.
It is. It's amazing. I love that we can use the dark magic, as they call it, for our benefit as well. We'll just kind of flip it on them. I love it.
Absolutely. When COVID was a thing, I mean, didn't that keep people connected? They wanted us all six feet apart or whatever. I don't even know what it was because I didn't comply. Yeah. But whatever it was, this isn't the topic of the story today or of this interview, but in the county that I live in, Lyon County, they wanted to come in, OSHA, they wanted to come in and they wanted to implement their practices on us. And so our county said, well, if you're going to come in to implement your measures on our people, you're going to have to quarantine for 30 days before you could come into our county. So that prevented a lot of their shenanigans, as Jesse would say. It prevented, a lot of them messing around with us. I mean, I live in the middle of the desert. Seriously, the population is pretty small. So it's not like anyone's really going to come out and try and implement things, but they did try to go to our grocery stores and into our churches. In fact, my church, they tried shutting, the churches down, and the pastors got together. And what they did was they for some reason, the casinos didn't seem like they bred the COVID virus. And so the casinos were open, but they closed our churches. And so what the pastors did was they brought their congregation to the casinos, and they started to do services inside the casinos. And the casinos didn't like that very much. And so pretty soon they opened the churches back up. Isn't that funny?
I can imagine the casinos were not happy about that.
No, and praising Jesus in the casinos, yeah, isn't that great? Isn't that how great to flip that, like Jesus flipped the money changer tables over, right? So that's what the pastors did. They just flipped the nonsense upside down on their heads.
Well, absolutely. But the flip side to that, if you look now, because what COVID also did is align us a lot more with technology. So a lot of people now, if you see how many people have got YouTube channels, and it is 100,000 times more. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of them I really enjoy. Some days I shake my head and I wonder, how does someone actually film themselves doing that and think they can put it on a public platform and get and yet they get 2 million views? It's like, okay, I'm seeing where the mindset is. So there's a lot of dumbing down because of technology after that as well. If you think about it, many people aren't working in offices anymore, which is also good and bad because there's not as much commuting. So the carbon footprint is less, right? There's lots of pros and cons, but many of us are not into or not aware or not having that human contact. Long before COVID began, I was already working online. That's how I lived in Thailand for 3.5 years. That's how I worked there, because everything I did was online. I ran my workshops online. I saw my students online, so I was already doing it. So when COVID came, I was kind of pissed off because now everyone was kind of treading on my parade, get back to the office, all of you, what are you doing?
That's kind of funny. I was in a unique position. It's so ironic the way that God works. That's all I can say, because I had been in litigations with my employer over some worker comp claims of exposures and some knee surgeries. I'd been in litigations with them with open claims since 2011. So in 2019, I had become a minimalist. I had become a minimalist. I had basically gotten rid of everything I owned except for my clothes and my legal documents. That's all I basically had. And my goal was to go to Honduras or to Africa and become a missionary. I thought I was just so tired of America. I was so tired of the entitlement. I was so tired of the corruption. Didn't realize it was everywhere, but so I was going to go to Africa or Honduras, but I had this small little stint in 2019 where some dear friends of mine needed some help moving to Nevada. So, and they were uprooting their whole family, like grandma, the kids, other people in the family. So it wasn't one household. It ended up being like multiple households. And the father had a very drastic work accident where he ended up in a wheelchair. And so they really needed, help. And I needed a purpose. I wanted to be in ministry. And so it gave me a purpose, and I was traveling back and forth. Well, then it turns out that they closed the borders before I could get anywhere. And I was stuck in Nevada. Ironically, I guess that's the ministry where God wanted me. So, but what happened was in 2019, before they told us about this virus, people were getting it anyway. People were getting it in November, December, January, and that's wintertime for us in the Central Valley. In the Central Valley where I lived, we have this fog. We have a fog. We have something called, they call it iron lung. I don't know if that's right, iron lung. But basically, what it is the peat dirt and all the chemicals that they spray. I lived in an agriculture area. Those are conditions that can give people like lung issues. I ended up with a severe lung issue. I thought I was going to be terminal. I was hospitalized. And so the employer and their insurance carrier, I think they believed that it was all due to the chemicals that I had been exposed to. Or ironically, they were ready to settle during that time. So whatever happened with COVID and that, that facade that took place, and I'm not saying that it wasn't real, I'm just saying that it wasn't what they said it was.
I think the virus for sure was real.
Absolutely. But how did everyone get the virus? Was it in a lab? Was it spread in China? Was it, like I said, I really have a suspicion that it was tied to the chemtrails. We had heavy chemtrail spraying for months, days and months. I mean, it was, to me, that's all I saw. And if so anyway, in my mind, I thought, well, they've got the G5 up and they've got the chemtrail sprays. And, if you look into what it is they spray with those, what the chemicals are that they're spraying, they definitely attack your lungs. So, but my point was, I kind of went off on a tangent, was that they settled with me in 2020. And so I did not shelter in place. I was on major road trips. I wanted to actually see what was going on out there when they were telling everyone to shelter in place. So I traveled from Nevada to California to Oregon to Washington, and I just watched, what was going on the roads and what was taking place. And I went and visited a bunch of family and friends, and I did not shelter in place. I did not wear a mask. I did not vaccinate. I was like, I'm not doing any of this. You guys are crazy.
Well, you said something very interesting there about people already getting COVID-like symptoms before the pandemic was created.
Yes.
And it just dawned on me now. And it's what you're saying, like, with all the chemtrails, that kind of stuff that they've been spraying. And for experimentally, right, for many years already. So how possible is it that this was actually coming from the chemtrails, but what was the jab about then? Because it almost feels like the jab could have been a diversion.
Well, what the jab
and the real
was,
danger was the chemtrails.
Well, okay, and it wasn't just the chemtrails, because the fires were attached to those chemtrails. So they would spray these heavy metals, these heavy metals, and then we'd have fires on top of it. So wouldn't that affect your lungs? Wouldn't that make you sick? Wouldn't that create bacteria in your lungs? So my job for mosquito abatement was to observe. The first thing I would do is I had a section in our county. It was a pretty big section. I had different territories, but one of them was huge. And my whole job was to observe the water, observe the wind, observe the sky, observe, temperatures. And so that carried on. I mean, when you're trained to do something, it doesn't go away just because it's your day off. You don't stop doing it just because you're not getting paid for it anymore. You've been trained and conditioned to do those things. So, I was watching, and I lived in the same, what was special about me was that I had lived in the same town, in the same county for 50 years. I lived in this little tiny town for 50 years. And we went from like beautiful puffy, skies with clouds, to all of a sudden these chemtrails. And it was just so clear to me. I had been trained in aerial applications, taking a plane and spraying certain areas with chemicals. I was taught on calibrating. That's how much chemical comes out of the equipment when they're dispersing it. I was trained on drift and, and spray. So I had all this knowledge and all this training, and I was just observing and watching, and it was really driving me insane because, and then what I started noticing is you might see spraying all summer long, and then, or even all winter long into spring and summer. And then you'd have fires starting in March, and those fires would go all the way into December, and they weren't stopping. And I mean, the other portion of some of my background is that my husband and I both took the fire academy. So I had education in fires, and so I would travel. My husband got hired at this fire department, which was pretty, I would say it was about an 8-hour drive from our home. And he did that for 2.5 years. So I would go back and forth with the kids, and we would go stay there. And so I saw what normal fire looked like versus these chemical to me, the sprays would happen, and then they were chemical reactive fires.
Yeah, so you were able to see if a fire was started by, let's say, an accidental bushfire,
Right.
or something that had been chemically induced. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's definitely, there must be a big difference in everything, the way it's, as you're saying, like the trees and stuff as well. When we looked at how the trees were burning, wow. I mean, that's incredible. Jeez.
So my mom lived in Lake Tahoe, and so I live about 1 hour from Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe may not mean anything to you, but for us, it's like it's just this beautiful refuge. It's a huge, beautiful, pristine lake, and just covered with all kinds of trees. And so my mom actually had to leave Tahoe, and she was diagnosed with emphysema. And so she had to actually leave Tahoe. The elevations were too high. She had to move back to my hometown. And I didn't put it together when she lived there, but they were having severe fires. And what does a fire do? It removes, if it's taking out the brush and it's affecting the trees, it's taking out the oxygen out of the air. It makes it hard to breathe. There are different chemicals that they spray in the winter that makes it so difficult to breathe. There's different chemicals that they spray at different times of the year, and it can make it so difficult to breathe here. I thought we were going in a whole different direction today, and it's funny that we segued over here, but we'll yeah.
It all links anyway, because really at the end of the day, your first-hand experience with these chemicals, working with them, studying them, experimenting with them, right? Wow. I mean, that is incredible. I'm actually surprised that you're not walking around in a hazmat suit. Seriously.
Now you're segueing into the topic I wanted to hit today, which which was homeopathic remedies. Do you have a picture of that dairy pond? Is that sitting around?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it. Is this the one here?
I don't see anything. So.
Are you not seeing the picture up on the screen?
No, and I'm not seeing it. I'm actually watching your show too at the same time. So
okay. It's a picture of like a pond with.
It's a dairy pond.
Yeah.
It's a dairy pond. And so that's okay if we don't have the visuals. That's fine. We'll just talk about it. So I was assigned a territory that had multiple dairy ponds on it. I had a 100-acre parcel that it was part of my route. There were 3 dairy ponds on it, and then there would be like 75 acres of irrigated pasture. So when you have the milking cows, they're defecating and they're urinating in their little stalls. And so you have to wash that out. Otherwise, the cows would be getting funguses on their feet, and then the cows would be getting sick if they were standing in their own urination and defecation. So basically, what happens is they take water and they wash these dairy stalls out, and they wash them into a dairy pond. So the defecation I don't know, it turns into a sediment, and so that will dry out, and they'll take the sediment, the dried sediment from the dairy ponds, and they'll go spread it on their fields for for nutrients, for fertilization. It's against the law to dump treated wastewater of any sorts, whether it's human or animal waste, into the waters of the U.S. So you can't, if you had like a ditch, irrigation ditches that rainwater would run through, it would be against the law to dump your dairy waste into those waters of the U.S. So what they do, then they also can't, they're not supposed to put that human, there we go, there it is. So, so this is an example of a dairy pond. Normally, the Mosquito and Vector Control District would every year go out to these dairy ponds. They would give them a letter, and they would tell them, keep your weeds under control, because if you keep your weeds under control, then that will produce less mosquitoes. In the middle, you'll see that those are aerators, and those aerators are tied with ropes, and those ropes will actually be tied off and held by T-posts. And a T-post is a reinforced piece of metal that is used for concrete. So it's really strong. It's very tough. So this is where I had my very last injury working for mosquito abatement. I worked for mosquito abatement from 2004, April of 2004, until basically I was terminated by 2012. On September 2011, that dairy pond, I was out there treating it. I'm walking around the edges there, and you can't see that there's metal T-posts sticking out. So I am hand treating this with granules. It's a bacteria that I was treating it with, and I'm walking around the pond, and I'm treating it. So I kick out in front of me, because it's not unusual to have like snakes out there. So I kick out in front of me, make sure I'm not going to step on a snake or something. It kind of freaked me out if I would do that. So I kind of kick out in front and, make sure that there's no critters that I'm going to come in contact with my feet. I actually kick into a metal T-post, and it rips down my leg. Unfortunately, the T-post had come in contact. The first contact it made with my body was my post. I'd had 2 surgeries on my right knee prior to this third and final injury that I would incur on my place of employment. So I'm walking around. I come in contact with a T-post. It rips down from my knee, my 2-post incision knee, down all the way to my ankle. It causes me, I have nerve damage there now, and I had to have a third knee surgery as a result of this. My employer, I was in the middle of a grand jury investigation that I had initiated in 2009. I filed a complaint. So I had been in the workplace since 2009 to 2011 with a filed grand jury complaint and 2 grand jury investigations. So my employer had sent me to a physician, and this physician was not familiar with my job. All the other times that I've been treated by my employer's physician had been with Dameron Occupational Health, and that they had been doing all of the employees' medical care for like 25 years. But all of a sudden, they changed medical providers, and they did that in an effort to minimize the fact that they were documenting too many exposures and too many injuries in the workplace, and the medical facility was getting, starting to side with employees because the employer was not protecting the employee's health or well-being. So I go to this doctor, and my boss had talked to him prior to him seeing me, and basically he ignored the bruise that I had from my femur all the way down to my ankle. He ignored the fact that that I had a scratch from my to post-incision knee all the way down to my ankle. And so basically what he says is that it's a little scratch and he sends me back out to work. So I get injured. I get injured on that. They're mad at me, right? I mean, I've got a grand jury investigating them. The DA's involved. They're looking at criminal elements of my complaint. And so they hate me. They literally hate me. Like I said, that dairy pond is the owner is supposed to get a letter and they're supposed to be doing weed abatement. They're not doing anything that they're supposed to because they want me out of there. And they're doing everything within their power to get me out of there. So the doctor returns me back to work. I go back to this 100-acre parcel with the 3 dairy ponds on it. That was just one dairy pond. There was actually 2 more ponds on that property. And so what they do is they take that water that I just put chemicals on, and they take it and they shoot it out to their alfalfa or their corn that they're raising for their cattle. But that dirty mosquito water with chemical in it now has been released onto 75 acres of irrigated pasture. So now I'm walking in a pasture that's like hip high. Now, mind you, I have got a trauma to my right knee, and these chemicals that I was putting into the pond and into the pasture, because the other thing is these people are trying to fire me. One, they're telling the public that there's West Nile virus, and then 2, that pasture has already got mosquitoes in it. So, and those mosquitoes reproduce in 3 days. You can have a batch of mosquitoes hatch, get their blood source from the cows or the squirrels or whatever little blood source there is, and come back and relay their eggs. And in 3 days they can hatch again. So they can reproduce at a rapid rate. So that's what my employer was hoping, was that all these mosquitoes would get off, and then I'd get complaints, and then they could terminate me because they had already been taking other measures to terminate me. This would just be the last straw. So, so I'm out there and I'm spraying, treating the pastures, and I get this dairy water inside my system, and I get, the chemicals are in my system, so that from September, October, November, December, January, probably for 6 months, I am ill to the point where I think I'm going to die. I mean, seriously, I'm not exaggerating. I literally thought I was going to die. My mother was terminal at that time, and I thought I was going to die before my mom. And my mom just kept thinking I was depressed. She's like, I was laying in bed a lot. I was real weak. My mom kept, she was really upset with me. She's like, you're just depressed. It's like, no, I'm not depressed. I am sick. And so anyway, that's just to tell you that I was severely exposed to chemicals and bacteria from that dairy pond that would make me sick for months. So let's get into the things that I did to heal myself, because that's what I really wanted to share today. I don't always want to talk about the doom and gloom. I don't always want to talk about the bad things, because there's so many good things out there that we can do to take charge. I was either going to become a victim or I was going to be a victor. And there was no way that I was going to be a victim. And so, right? I mean, just that's not how I was made. I don't think most people are. And so, so I'm just going to go down the line, and I'm just going to share with you the things I did. And I don't think there's any right way. There might be some wrong ways, but let's see. There's this thing that, like, what we put in us is who we are. Yeah. And right, what we put in us is who we are. And so
your input is your output.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm going to start with scripture. I think the very first thing I pulled up 3 scriptures, I think, or 2. And so I pulled a couple scriptures, and the very first one is from Philippians, and it's Philippians 1 and Philippians 6. Being confident of this very thing, he who began a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. And I take that scripture, it's not the way it was meant, but I take it and I own it. And I just say, you know, that God has started something in me. If you don't like me, it was always, if you don't like me, he's not done with me yet. So don't lose faith. Don't give up on me. He's not done yet. I'm a work in progress. That's one of my favorite scriptures. And then let's go to this one. This one is Psalms, and it's Psalms 51:10, and it's, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and uphold me by your generous spirit. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and sinners shall be converted to you. And my constant prayer, to the Lord is, I lost my last one. My constant prayer is, God, use me and send me. Use me and send me. And what you and I were talking about was how I knew a Christian. And I, right now, where God is using me is I have been scheduling guests for an educational talk radio show. I've done it for 3 years. I do it for free. I do it as a tithe unto the Lord. And I mean, I obviously have a voice, and obviously don't have a problem speaking. But what I just want people to have the truth, right? I want people to have the truth. So God has given me an opportunity to talk to amazing people like you, and to give them a voice. Sometimes it was the J6ers. Then, that's kind of a focus that was a couple years ago. Now it's been victims of sexual ritual abuse. And who knows what will be next. But whoever has a voice and somebody's not giving them the opportunity to be heard, that's what I like to do. So here's the last scripture that I'll share with you. But this, just reading God's word, is healing. This is part of what I did to remedy my exposures, to get better within my spirit and my soul, because there's our physical body, there's our mental capabilities, there's our spiritual realm, and every portion of our body needs to be fed and needs to be exercised and needs to be cared for. So be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Oh, this is Philippians, and it's Philippians 4:6. Let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. And I put a little note, what goes in will come out. And finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are good report, if there is any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. And that's really what I wanted to say with scripture, is that where we have to be in control of our mind, and the enemy will try and use our mind as a war zone. But it's very important to, if there's negative thoughts, to get them out, to focus on butterflies, to focus on flowers, to focus on things that will bring joy, will bring hope, will bring, make your heart in a place that is, not the enemy's playground. So scripture was one of the things. I'll tell you, I went to church, and some people are like, hey, I don't have to go to church, but I had to go, because I had to have accountability. I wanted a safe place to go. So if my doors were open at my church, and they were, like, every day there was something, I was there. I didn't care if I was helping the pastors paint their trailer. I didn't care, whatever it was. If it was children's vacation Bible school, I was there because the other portion of that is not focusing on your issues and your downfalls, but to also to care and love other people and lift them up, because
Give
that
back.
yeah, because it builds you, makes you feel good. So praise, so praising the Lord, singing a song, praising him. So one of the things that I do, I start my day at 4 a.m. every morning. I get up and I go out in the desert. I live in the desert, so it's super easy. And I think it's, what is the word? It's poetic. Go out there, read a scripture before I go and focus on that scripture, sing praise songs while I'm out there, and then I pray. One of the things I did, and I'm so thankful, is I didn't just get into counseling. I started going to prayer counseling, and there was this husband and wife, and their last name was Waters, and their ministry was Come to the Waters. And so I would go to prayer counseling with a beautiful lady named Grizz Waters, and there was this time where so you can imagine that I told you I was in litigations with my employer. I was in litigations with my employer for almost 10 years, self-represented about 75% of the time. And I had been requesting, during this time, I had been requesting discovery, and they weren't giving it to me. I was asking for my medical records, and they falsified them, and they were incomplete, and they wouldn't provide them for me. So the DA's office had contacted me, and they said, your employer has committed a crime, and we would like your medical records. So I waited a very long time to get these medical records. And the day that they came, I went to prayer counseling. And when I got there, Grizz was in session with somebody else. And so I said, you know what? I don't have to go today. I'm just going to skip prayer counseling. I told myself, and I wrote Grizz a little note, and I was like, hey Grizz, I'm going to take off. I got a headache. I didn't feel like doing it. I didn't feel like going that day. And she came running after me. She goes, you get inside my other office, and you delay there until I'm done with this session. I'm almost done, but you're going to do this. So I did. And when I got out that day, I went home, and I got a knock on my door, and basically somebody tied to my lawsuit, somebody I was actually litigating for, she committed suicide. And I can't imagine that day if I hadn't done that session with Grizz. Like, as soon as I got home, I got that news, and I fell to my feet, and I was just like, and I feel like they murdered her, but I can't. Whoa, okay. I can't prove that, but shoot, my screen it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm a firm believer God is real, and he will pull you to him. And, if you draw to him, that he will draw to you, and he will give you what you need. I'm so glad that I read my scripture, that I went to church all the time, that I praised him, that I was in prayer counseling, because I don't know if I would have made it through that friend's suicide. I don't know how things would have gone, if not. I would encourage you to journal, and I would encourage you to write your prayers down, because or make your lists of things that you need to do. Because I would find lists that I made and never pick it up again. I would just sit down, I'd write it all down, and then maybe not even look at it again. A year later, I'd go back and I'd be like, dang, I accomplished all that stuff. And there were things on there that I never thought I'd get to. There are things that I never, they pertain to the litigations, or they pertained to different things. And I'd go back and I'd read prayers, and I'd be asking God for specific things, and I'd go back and they'd be answered. So journaling and writing your prayers down, and, and lamenting and things like that. So now we're going to so that's your spiritual realm. Very important. Do not neglect your spiritual body. When you're looking at detoxing, when you're looking at trying to have overall homeostasis, do not neglect your spiritual element of your body. So then I'm going to go into detoxifications, and I'm just going to go through a few, and through sweating. Sweating is one of the best ways to detox. I run. Not everyone can run, but I'm telling you that I found a hill. I mean, it was like a straight up hill, and it was maybe like a third of a mile. And I could run up it maybe a third, and then I'd be out of breath, and then I'd just walk the rest. But I could always run down. Usually I could always run down, right? Going down is a lot easier. But I started at like a third of a mile, maybe doing a third of that. And now I run 5 miles a day. So, you know, so anything you practice, you can be good at. But that pushes your toxins out. That, you know, it gets your blood flowing from head to toe. It gets your adrenaline, your endorphins, you know, and it pushes out the toxins. A sauna is a great way to get the toxins pushed out of your body. I don't know if you want to pull up the foot ionizer, and while you're doing that, I'm going to explain a foot ionizer in a minute, but I would encourage facials, because facials again pull out toxins. And
I've got a couple of images here,
Yeah.
so just tell me which one. I'm not quite sure.
Not that one. It's the one that has that. It's that right there. Yep, it's right there. So foot ionizer is basically, it's the craziest thing. It is the most craziest thing, because what it is, it's like a copper, it's a little pan that you put water in, and it has a copper coil hooked to electronic, it's an electronic copper coil. You put salts in there, and they have a very specific salt you put in there. So when you first initiate this process, the water is clear, and you're just putting some salt in there. And depending on what is in your body, it'll pull it out, and it can turn. And so the water can vary anywhere from anywhere on this spectrum: black with flecks, brown, dark green, orange, red flecks, white foam, and then yellow green. Every time I did it, it would come out a different color. And so I could almost cry, because, you know, like, I haven't talked about these things or done these things in a long time. I don't have to anymore, but I had to get those chemicals out of me. And I swear by this. And so if you're somebody who maybe's been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, or you're somebody who's maybe has cancer, I'm not a doctor, so I would encourage you to make sure you do your own research, and that you don't take Tiffany's words at anything. These are the things that worked for me. And all I can do is point you to them and tell you I would definitely consider looking into them. And then, leave it up to you. I'm not here to treat you. I'm just here to point you to things that worked for me. And so if you think I look healthy after 10 years of chemical exposures, then maybe these things might work for you too. So that is something that I used, and something that if you are definitely dealing with health issues, that you might want to look into a foot ionizer. Another thing that I started doing was massage. And when I first, not everyone can afford massage, but I couldn't afford not to do massage. I couldn't afford not to. So I also mentioned facials, and we didn't get enough, I don't think it got enough attention. So a facial is very close to, it's a face massage basically. And we hold a lot of stress here. We hold a lot of stress in our hands, especially if you drive. I drove 8 hours a day plus for work. And we absorb a lot in our hands. So I'll tell you my story about massage. I had found a lady. She was an older lady, and her husband used to have a massage school. So she taught massage school. And she taught massage school. I went to her, and I had so much tension. Not only were the chemicals attacking me, but again, because I initiated a grand jury investigation where the whole board of trustees was being interviewed, my manager, everybody connected to that place of employment. So that's about 30 people were all being interviewed, were brought in, and I was working there at the time, and they hated me. That's a lot of tension. That's a lot of stress to be absorbing. So I go to this lady, again, they called her the guru, and she gave me a massage. I felt a lot better when she was done, but she kept doing this thing, right? She kept going like this at me. She was like, whatever she did, and then she went like this. And I was like, well, that's a little weird, right? So basically, what happened was, she goes, honey, I don't know, how do you feel? I'm like, I want to come back. Well, when it was time for my next massage, she called me and she rescheduled, and she was audibly sick. She was sick. And so this went on for 3 weeks. She rescheduled me. And finally, the third time she called me and she said, honey, I can't fix you. She said, I can't fix you. I've got a student in my class. And if you're willing to have a man, he was a kid, he was like 18, 19, but he's willing to work on you. And if you're willing to work with Daniel, then he's willing to work with you. So what she told Daniel was that I made her sick, that the toxins that came out of me went into her. She was older and she was already dealing with health issues. And so what I would encourage you, sometimes I would get 4 massages a day. I mean, a week, not a day. That's excessive, but both of them are excessive. But I had these chemicals in me and I needed to get them out of me. And so Daniel worked with me, and the first couple of times the first time I worked with Daniel, he triggered emotions, because it's not only just the toxins, but I had gone through some personal issues. Nothing that this show and your listeners are not conditioned to know about, but basically some severe sexual traumas and that had been suppressed. And so all those started to come to the surface, and I started obsessively crying. So when it was time for my next massage with Daniel, I had canceled. I didn't want him to touch me again because I didn't want to be crying all the time. I was somebody who was holding things in. I was, felt like I was dealing with things. But actually, somebody can really, you got to be careful who you get a massage by and what they're putting in their body. Because if anybody's using any type of drugs and they're in their system, they can come out and go into you, vice versa. And also what kind of emotions can be tapped in or out of. So you have to be careful spiritually who you are connecting yourself with when you are doing massage or letting anybody touch your body. That's all I can say about that. The next thing that I got into was essential oils. If you want to bring that up, I started using essential oils. doTERRA was the company I used. I'm not here to endorse any company, but I will tell you that they are a reputable company, and they have something called CPT grade. You don't want to just go get essential oils at your Bath and Body or at Walmart, because CPT grade means they're certified therapeutic grade, meaning that most of them you can ingest, meaning that most of them they're derived from stems, from the leaves, from the bark, from every element of the source. So these are the essential oils come from a tree. They can come from a fruit. They can come from different elements of the plant. And so I'm going to introduce you to a couple of the essential oils that were my favorite that that I was drawn to. One of them is just basically the citruses. So I don't know if you want to pull the book up or whatnot, but so the citruses, any type of citrus, lemongrass. I seem to be very attracted to lemongrass, and I would find out that lemongrass or any of the citruses, whether it's lemon, orange, grapefruit, they're uplifters. So if you are battling with depression, and I would encourage you to either eat these things or maybe, diffuse them. Again, you want to use a certified therapeutic grade because you don't want to use anything that has synthetics in it. This particular brand is all natural. So let's see. And then I've got a little story. Let's see here. Did I pull lemongrass? Maybe I didn't pull. I'm going to share just a couple with you. So I'll start with the lavender. Lavender is called the Swiss Army knife. The Swiss Army knife, because a Swiss Army knife has all these different gadgets on it. It's got a little screwdriver, it's got a little knife, it's got all these different things, a toothpick on it. I think it might have a flint, to start a fire. So just the lavender has so many different healing remedies to it. And the body systems affected is your cardiovascular system, your nervous system, and it helps emotionally balance you. It reproduces cell growth at a rapid rate. So some of the common primary uses for lavender is abuse, healing from abuse. It calms you. So if you're agitated, you can use it for allergies, anxiety, appetite loss, arrhythmia. So dealing with your heart. Are we going too long? I don't know how much.
Carry on.
Okay. It's so again, I said it regenerates cell growth at a rapid rate. So like bites, stings, blisters, boils. It says it soothes your breasts, burns, calming, cancer, chicken pox. It just goes. So let me see. Your central nervous system, muscular paralysis, pain. It goes on. It says ticks here. I'm not sure if it means ticks like like that kind of tick or like the bug tick, but you can just Google. You can Google Modern Essentials. Modern Essentials is the publisher of this book, and put in any essential oil, or you can put it in any ailment, and it will tell you which essential oils to use. So we're going to go with cinnamon. I'm going to tell you a story. I was doing paralegal studies. So when I was going through my litigations with my employer and I was still working there, I wanted them to leave me alone. So I said, well, maybe, and I needed an exit strategy. I also needed a job where I made comparable salary to what I was making. And so I wasn't just going to leave without an exit strategy because I had kids. So I enrolled in paralegal studies, and I was getting my bachelor's of science, which meant that I had to take many science classes to get my degree. I did not graduate. I will just tell you, I had to quit because of family issues, but I was there. So my teacher was intrigued with me. He had cancer. My teacher was actually really cool, Dr. Kano. And we took agar and we did this study. And so agar is like this, I don't know how to explain it. It's clear. It's like it's a clear, consistent, I'm lacking in words because I'm getting ahead of myself, but basically you get a petri dish. And that is something that has not been exposed to air. It hasn't been exposed to anything. And the agar, it allows growth on it, bacterial growth or viruses. They use it in the laboratories. So we did the whole class, I think there was 90 of us. We all did 3 different Petri dishes. And one we did with just washing our hands with cold water. And then we took a swab and then we put it inside the Petri dish. Then we did one where we used soap and we swabbed our hands and then we put it on the Petri dish. We did the antibacterial gels that they have in the stores with the alcohol. We did that, put that on our hands, and then swabbed it, put that on a Petri dish, and I think we did one without. We did one without washing or using anything, and then swabbing and putting it on in the Petri dish. Then we left them for a week, and then we came back and looked to see which ones had bacteria and which ones didn't. Ironically, the one where we use the antibacterial, that gel stuff, that produced the most bacteria. Just so you know, remember when COVID hit and everyone was using that, that had the most bacteria. So then, yeah, that was it was a real interesting study. So what we did next was then we took my essential oils. We used cinnamon. We used lavender. I can't remember what the other oils were because everything either, all I can say is cinnamon was the only oil that killed all the bacteria in the Petri dishes. So we took some of my doTERRA oils and then we put them in these Petri dishes to see if any of them would kill the bacteria that we grew the week before. Cinnamon killed everything. So I would like to introduce cinnamon to you. And the properties of cinnamon, it's an antibacterial, it's an antidepressant, it's an antifungal, it's an anti-infection for your intestinal and urinary, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antioxidant, antiparasitic, antiseptic, antispasmodic, antiviral. It's astringent, immune stimulant, purifier, sexual stimulant, but it also heals people who have who've been victims of sexual abuse. Common uses: airborne bacteria, bacterial infections, bites, stings, breathing, diabetes, diverticulitis, fungal infections, general tonic, immune system infections, libido if you have a low one, mold, pancreas support, physical fatigue and pneumonia, typhoid, vaginal infections, viral infections. So, but cinnamon, burns. So know what you're doing. Again, I was really sick. So one of the oils that I gravitated to was cinnamon, and I would just drink it because, I was really sick. I'll do one more, and that's rosemary. Rosemary is a pain reliever. So if you have pain, whether it's a headache or whether it's physical pain, rosemary is very good. So addictions, alcohol, and that's another thing. A lot of your citruses are you can use to prevent addictions. So I used to put these oils on people sometimes that I knew. I had a friend, her daughter was a heroin addict. So I spent a whole 48 hours just she let me, and I would just put I would look them up, and I'd look for the oils that, that had to do with addiction and detoxification. And we detoxed her in 2 days. Unfortunately, and so what it does is it takes all the drug out of the system. Unfortunately, for somebody who's using drugs, a lot of times they're drugging themselves from emotional, they're self-medicating. So don't do that without making sure that person has, like a counselor or, some kind of therapy in place to work through the emotions that's gonna surface immediately when those chemicals are removed from the system. But rosemary works in addictions. It says specifically alcohol. It's an antioxidant, arterial, vascular. So for your vascular system, your blood vessels, arthritis, Bell's palsy, cancer, cellulite, chemical stress, cholera, constipation. It's a detoxification. For diabetes, it's a diuretic, fainting, fatigue, flu, greasy or oily hair, headaches, inflammation, kidney infection, lice, low blood pressure, memory, muscular dystrophy, osteoarthritis. And why I'm bringing this up is because all the pharmaceuticals that they make are derivatives, they're synthetics of these. So what they do is they take natural products and they tweak the molecules and make them synthetic. But when you tweak something like that, you can make it perverted. So then it has bad side effects instead of actually having the real remedies that God has created for us. I was going to go into...
Isn't that interesting though? Because, they really should be just using the natural stuff. Again, this is just another way that we're seeing how they using what God has given us
and perverting it.
And inverting it for their own means, and then also debunking the whole natural thing, because your whole body, your body responds to nature. Right. Your body's in harmony, and it's like when we're looking at a lot of these essential oils and things, a lot of people say, well, how, that's like airy fairy or whatever. It's not, because your brain, certain parts of your brain, when you smell certain fragrances, activate. So that's why when you're trying to, let's say, uplift or calm, certain smells will absolutely help you get there. Absolutely. But if your body is induced with chemicals all day, every day, and sugar and what have you, it's going to be harder for the natural remedies because they're not as intrusive. So with anything that's natural, it's going to take a little bit longer. And remember that the natural stuff goes into the cell and uplifts it first. So it almost gets worse before it gets better. It's not a quick fix, anesthetic or antibiotic kind of thing, but it's very good.
There are no quick fixes, right? It takes us a while to get to a disease state. We're not born with a disease state. So the last oil I was going to bring to your attention was frankincense, and it has many healing properties, but the one I wanted to present to you it's an anti-carcinogen. So, and again, so this company produced this book. This is the 9th edition, Modern Essentials Handbook. And basically it tells you, what I love about it is it shows you all your pressure points, and it shows you like, hey, not only, use this, but actually where to use it on your body, and it'll tell you, if you touch this particular point, this will, go through your digestive system. So here, right here. So like it shows you, breaks down the ear, and it shows you every part of the body. And if you turn it upside down, the ear, it's actually a baby in the womb.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Incredible. And your ears, absolutely. A lot of the Chinese natural medicine and the Eastern, because they also don't believe in chemicals,
right?
But it's at certain points in your ear that you touch, your feet, your hands, or all your what they call nadis.
Yeah, it shows you exactly like where your organs are on your feet. So so these are great charts to have. But what happened was the FDA tried to shut this down, and they tried to sue them. So they weren't successful, but they did have to say or they had to change the terminology. So just essential oils, you definitely, need to know about them and educate yourself. Don't just know one essential oil is the same as another. And the way I understand it now is that there's quite a few companies out there. doTERRA is the one that I used, and that means doTERRA of the earth. But that was, and even it's a Mormon company, but I have to tell you that the teachings, the doctors, the scientists, pretty top notch. They have every year they have a trade show, not a trade show. I can't think of the word, but you go there and they just have intense classes with doctors to teach you how to use the oils and what the cutting edge science is on it. So my last topic that I was going to hit was just juicing. And I mean, you could basically juice anything. So what's juicing? It's the same thing as basically essential oils. It's taking, God's garden and using it for homeopathic healing. And why would you juice versus just eating the food? And the thing about juicing is that it takes takes the content of it and creates a intense I'm lacking in words right now. I'm kind of like ahead of myself, like, okay, I'm almost done. I got to the end of my stuff, but juicing is one of the most important things. And there's all different kinds of juicers out there. What I do is I juice each thing independently and individually. So I will go to the store and I'll buy about $200 worth of produce and vegetables. And then, and it's like a whole process. It can take me a couple of days, but I'll take the lime and I'll zest the lime and I keep the zest. And then I juice the lime. Then I do the lemons and then the grapefruit and then the oranges, and each one I put in their own separate container before I start mixing them and making my own little recipes. So then I kind of pulled just a couple of things that I like to juice. Right now it's summer here where I'm at. And so it's just my favorite time of the year. We have the best produce that comes out of California. So I picked raspberries. So I'm just going to go over a few things. And I mean, this is something anybody can do, is just, start looking for what nutrients are you low in, or what ailment are you trying to heal? And you put just a couple things in your search browser, and next thing you know, you've got a cocktail of nutrients of, how to treat your ailment. So 5 amazing health benefits of raspberry juice. And again, so some people, so what it is it's taking a heavy concentrate and it shoots it to your blood system rapidly. Instead of like going to, because it's a liquid, it's able to go into your blood system. Where if you digest the fruit itself, it has to go into your gut and then get, processed. And then it, gets dispersed wherever you want it, or wherever you need it, wherever it's going to go. So 5 amazing health benefits of raspberry juice. Boost your blood circulation. Raspberry serves as an anticoagulant and containing potassium, which regulates blood pressure, and other active ingredients function as blood thinners. It leads to greater supply of oxygen and nutrients around the body to reduce the effects of hypertension. It enhances your eyesight. The nutrient provided by raspberries produce healthy glands in the eyes. This prevents the eyes from becoming dry. Raspberries combat conditions such as macular degeneration, an age-related disorder affecting the eyes. In this case, macular degeneration, the retina is impaired, impacting the middle point of the field of vision. So it improves your vision. And so like if you're having ailments, instead of taking a pill, or instead of, going to the pharmacy, going to the doctor or the pharmacy to get a shot or a pill, take these foods as medicine. Raspberry juice improves your digestive health. Raspberry juice has a high concentration of magnesium and fiber, which inhibits the digestion pace, holding its full, making you feel full longer, and enhances the body's metabolic rate and promotes weight loss. It prevents the risk of gastrointestinal illness in young children. It prevents dementia. So for the people who do not know, dementia is not a single disease, but a broad term that describes various medical conditions. I can tell you that a lot of the chemicals that are sprayed is why people are coming up with dementia. So you want to fight that. Raspberries are good. And a lot of people will say, hey, there's too much sugar in it. But the thing is, raspberries aren't that sweet. You know, I usually mix it with pineapple juice, make a cocktail. But anyway, medical conditions, most notably Alzheimer's. Generally, dementia is caused by abnormal brain changes. It triggers a decline in thinking skills, cognitive abilities, and behaviors. Raspberry is great against neurodegeneration in the elderly. It has anti-inflammatory properties, carrying vitamin C and E, which are crucial for brain function, not only protecting your brain from degeneration, but it also improves cognitive and motor skills. The antioxidants and flavonoids in raspberry decelerate the brain aging process. It prevents the development of cancers. So the Cancer Institute suggests that the antioxidants in raspberry juice decelerates and possibly prevents cancer from developing. So anyway, I'm just gonna move on. We'll go to blueberries. These are my favorites. So blueberries are often called a superfood. This small but mighty berry is loaded with nutrients. They may help lower blood pressure, improve memory, aids in exercise recovery, and more. Blueberries are low in calories but high in nutrients, fiber, vitamin C, and vitamin K. Blueberries are one of the top antioxidant foods. Blueberries reduce DNA damage, which may help protect against aging and cancer. Blueberries may lower blood pressure, and blueberries can help maintain brain function and improve memory. It'll help you after you work out to restore your body. The last one I'm just going to go through, and I mean, like, I have a tendency right now, I'm focusing on these fruits, kiwi, mangoes, each one, the colors, you know, I was listening to this guy talking about how the colors kind of match what's the organs in your body that it helps. So pineapple, I'm just loving this one. I make a cocktail of pineapple, lime, lemon, and grapefruit. And it's like a super, so like may not be able to get, I think you can get all of these in the winter time, but let's say you're dealing with colds or viruses, a great superfood. So let's see. It suppresses inflammation. It'll boost your immune system. It will help you digest, promote heart health. Again, anti-carcinogen. So, and I'll stop there. Just these are ideas that you know that you can further research. I don't want to do all the work for you. So there.
And I think, you know, food is your medicine. I always say that. So, you know, and I think it's also important, not all raw food is good. We've got to be able to know these things as well. You know, we've got to really, part of our disconnection from spirit actually has been the fact that we love this instant fast foods, right? And just quicker is better, and buying a takeout instead of cooking or preparing for yourself. It's the food that you eat, how you combine it, the energy you put in when you're making your food. You know, this is everything that we have to look at. And when we do that, we need very little else. You know, firstly, you stop craving sweets and all sorts of things when you're nutritionally balanced, you know, your health automatically starts improving, your energy improves, everything improves. So you need less and less other stuff. You're just more inclined to work with what is natural to you, and that's really very important. So thank you, Tiffany. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. Wow, and I'm very grateful that you have had the wisdom and insight to heal yourself back to health, because again, you know, I always say the body is designed to heal itself. When you work with your body, when you work with your spirit, your mind, your emotions, you know, those times where you're crying, that is so important, because the cells in your body store the emotions. And, you know, when you releasing, that's your body healing. Tears cleanse the soul, right? So
Chantal, I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot something, and I just want to, as far as juicing, anything that comes out that you don't use for the, you know, that you're not drinking, you can use for a face mask. You can use for baking. You can make fruit leather out of. There is no waste in juicing. You don't have to waste anything. So I left that part out. I'm sorry. And I'm done. Okay.
Cool. Thank you so much. And thank you guys. I appreciate you joining me. And take care. And I hope that everyone has taken something away from the show. It doesn't matter what health issues you have. Your body is designed to heal itself. You know, work with support your body, research what you enjoy and what works for you, and enjoy a healthy life and a connected life. Take care, everybody. Yeah, thank you, Tiffany. And I've really enjoyed having you here. And again, if anyone wants to get hold of Tiffany, her details are absolutely in the description area. Oh. And to follow where she's at. Is there anything you'd like to say? Just, are you doing any shows or anything this week where people can catch you?
No, I don't do shows, Chantel. That's the funny thing. It's like you kind of got me on the spot here. I'm not doing shows. I am in the process of writing a book. And so when I get that, you know, together, I'd like to, share that. But
fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing your knowledge. It's really amazing. And guys, anyone who's had something like this, your body is designed to heal itself with the right support. So Take care, everybody. God bless you all.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Wednesday. If this broke something open, if you recognized yourself in the testimony, if your body responded before your mind understood, the next step isn't more information. It's pattern work. Decode what your nervous system built to survive. Dismantle the story that keeps it running. Reorganize through the body and choose from the person you're becoming, not from the pattern that formed when you were too small to choose. That's Solutions. Link below. The body is the record. Let's listen.